Hello everyone. If you didn't see earlier on Twitter, Instagram, or on my YouTube Super Chat, I officially announced today that I am endorsing Congressman Lee Zeldin for governor of New York. Now, a lot of factors came into why I am supporting the congressman for governor. Now, I want to mention that there is one thing that I do disagree with him on, and that was not voting for the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was done by Congress last year. I am very glad that our only Republican representative here in the city who represents parts of Brooklyn and Staten Island, Congresswoman Nicole Malviutakis, did vote yes on the bill, but every member of Congress did vote no for the Build Back Better bill, or as the so-called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez socialist wish list. So think of it as a, Amazon wish list, but basically AOC was trying to use an AMX, which is our taxpayer dollars, to, fund her ideas that, quite frankly, I just didn't agree with any member of Congress who's a Democrat on. Just took a little gaffe there. It seems our president seems to do that a lot now, does he? But besides the point, I'm basically going to go into the main reasons why I am supporting Congressman Zeldin. So, I had issued a statement about 2 weeks ago with my distaste of Governor Kathy Hochul's recent New York State budget. Now, given that a lot had to be addressed, I, for one, am certainly glad that beginning June 1st, the gas tax is going to be suspended, and it will be for 6 months. Now, given that we have a lot of blue-collar truck drivers that a lot of people don't seem to appreciate very well, I am very grateful for them because they are the ones who are driving the cargo trucks to get us our food. They are the ones who are delivering our food each and every day. That's why cost has gone up to make food, and that's why you're seeing prices go up in the supermarket. And I'm very glad that our governor did realize this. But one thing's for sure, Congressman Zeldin and I are on agreement that we need to lower the New York State sales tax. Because it's not fair that our neighbors in Massachusetts and Connecticut are paying a 6% sales tax, but yet why are we paying an 8% sales tax? The congressman did agree that 6% is a fair number that we should build upon. I was originally calling for a 7.4% sales tax. But given the math, it's just not going to cut it. What's 1% going to do in the short run? We have to think long term. And the congressman did agree that I should have a say in his first budget, which is going to be very, very important, hopefully when we get a new administration in January. Now, given that, obviously, if I was in the New York State Senate and I still was running, I would be campaigning on that right now. I would be basically campaigning on President Biden's reckless inflation policies, which I'm sure many of you have felt your wallets being pinched. Certainly mine has. Just this year alone, it's just been so brutal since January. Very, very brutal that I've had to be paying all these prices. I mean, last year, I noticed it a little bit at Dollar Tree. I've started to notice it a lot at takeout places that I have been used to going to. Just recently, I went to my favorite bagel place in Kew Gardens on Queens Boulevard. I had finally gotten to speak to one of the employees who I've known for years, and they've told me that inflation's gotten to them, everybody else, that I had to pay $1.25. Same with another bagel place that I know very well here in Fresh Meadows on Union Turnpike. Same situation. We're basically feeling our wallets getting pinched every single day. And the congressman also agreed that we need to lower our income tax because that is what's driving many New Yorkers away from this state. I don't understand. I have a lot of friends who live in Long Island. They're paying the most expensive property taxes of anywhere else in the country right now compared to California. And they don't realize that most of their income, when they file their tax returns, it's going to property taxes. A lot of them just don't seem to realize it, that if this cycle continues, they may have to leave New York. They may have to realize that what's the incentive of being in this state if we're not going to, get our money's worth. We're losing money. We're not able to put it aside for leisure activities in general. And it's just going to drive a lot of long-time residents out of the state. So, obviously, this is something that another congressman has proposed who's running for governor, Tom Suozzi. But remember, Tom Suozzi is best friends with Eric Adams. Can we really trust Tom Suozzi? Obviously, we know that this mayor has been a disaster here in New York City. And Congressman Zeldin and I are also on agreement with that. That we all feel that Eric Adams is not living to what he was supposed to be doing right now. And, certainly, I would hope that if we can win in November, then we have a great chance to take back City Hall in 2025, which will be a whole different story and that will be discussed at another time. But, bottom line is, crime is another issue that me and him have agreed on. This mayor has not been, again, living up to his potential. He's been in office now for 100 days. Oh, and here's something crazy that the mayor did back on, I think it was Tuesday. So you know how you're supposed to quarantine for 5 days after you test positive for COVID? Why was the mayor wearing a face mask outdoors? Doesn't the CDC say that if you test positive, you're allowed to take the mask off outdoors? But you have to wear the mask indoors for an additional 5 days? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad the mayor did that on Monday. I mean, obviously, I would have done the same thing. I still would have followed the science. But, that's another thing we're going to get into in just a second. But, right now, what's going on here is crime is out of hand. What's one thing allowing judges to get more discretion going to do? It's not going to help. The criminals are still running amok. We still have the Wyndham Hotel here in Fresh Meadows. Right, I've seen felons walking around Fresh Meadows lately. And it's gotten to a point where I don't feel safe here. And there was a recent report that back in March, late March, that a couple representatives who are Democrats, by the way, want this so-called hotel jail to be gone. So Lee Zeldin understands the consequences of, not putting the criminals where they properly belong. And, I am hoping that Lee's going to fight for us so that way New York State has control of Rikers Island. Because what Eric Adams is doing is a dangerous idea that was proposed by the previous administration by Mayor Bill de Blasio. It's not going to keep anyone safe if we close Rikers Island. Which, again, these big jails, I'm hoping that Congressman Zeldin can do something to stop them. I think he can. But the bottom line is the bail reform has got to be repealed. Because we're seeing too many dangerous criminals around normal, safe areas committing crimes. A lot of the crimes that have been happening in New York for the past 2 years have been blamed on bail reform. And a lot of these safe, normal areas that we've seen in the past have become dangerous because the criminals are released out of prison. They don't face the consequences of their actions. They don't have a lengthy jail sentence, which they're supposed to. And they're let out, and they commit similar crimes or commit different crimes. So I feel that Congressman Zeldin is going to address the bail reform. Obviously, one of the other endorsements was Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, who has been begging for help. And right now, Bruce has not been getting any help in Nassau County. He is certainly seeing this in his county as well. And my sympathetic feelings go to everybody in Nassau who has had to deal with this crime wave for who knows how long since this bail reform went into effect. And it's just awful that we have a governor who's not going to listen to us and just push the far left agenda that she wants to do, which is dangerous. It's putting more lives at risk. So, there are long-term consequences of what this bail reform law has done. And I truly believe, at the end of the day, Lee Zeldin's going to repeal the bail reform. And more importantly, we've got to fire any district attorney who's not going to enforce the law. And certainly Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, has got to go. He's not enforcing any laws. The criminals are running around Manhattan like it's Gotham City. So, that is another reason why I am supporting the congressman. And I will quickly bring up the Max situation to wrap up this video, like I had mentioned earlier. I am a little bit disappointed with the governor's decision that she's not listening to the judge in Florida who basically made the announcement. I do not like to judge people anymore about COVID. This is not 2020 when we didn't have vaccines and we didn't have the Paxlovid drug treatment from Pfizer. First of all, I am a little bit disappointed that not many people are taking it right now who have severe COVID. Originally, I was a little bit judgmental of the unvaccinated. But I had a sudden change of heart last year. And there were two reasons, I guess I'll say, why I've had a change of heart. Back last fall, a couple of my co-workers at the nursing home that I work at were laid off because they didn't want to follow then Governor Cuomo's vaccine mandate. And obviously, I noticed a couple of my employees were missing. And I added up the pieces to the puzzle. Then, I learned that a lot of blue-collar workers were being fired, terminated, because they refused to take the vaccine. Hard-working people who got us through the worst of COVID when we needed them the most. Our frontline heroes. Who had stressful days wondering what was going to happen next in the worst time of 2020. They were let go. And I was very proud last summer to stand with City Council candidate Jackie Taboroff, who was running for New York City Council in Lower Manhattan last year, who was endorsed by Curtis Lewa. Obviously, I knew what the big picture was. Seeing all those hard-working people. And I know they were making theories about the vaccine that I didn't agree with. But what I did agree with everybody at City Hall last year, there was no need for wrongful termination because somebody wasn't vaccinated. We don't terminate people because they don't take the flu shot. I've had teachers who've never taken the flu shot before. In high school. I never judged them. My senior year, I had a teacher who had a high fever back in early 2013. And I was worried sick about him because we heard that he almost went to the hospital for the flu. And thankfully he beat the flu. Because we have, the Tamiflu treatment. Just like how for COVID, we have Paxlovid. This is a different time in this virus. I certainly hope that we're going to hit our peak with BA2 sometime next month. Because the science has proved that these variants last 2 months. Take a look at the Delta variant for an example. The Delta variant last year came in July. Then cases started to go down in September. Omicron came in December. We hit our peak in January. Well, actually, no. Omicron came in November, yes. Cases went up in December. Cases started to go down in January. BA2. We found out about it in March. Here we are in April. And I honestly think we're going to hit our peak in the next couple of weeks. I'm keeping faith. The science proves that these variants last 2 months, on average. If recent trends continue, why should we have to be subject to wearing a mask on public transit? I am sick and tired of seeing people being judged for not wearing a mask on public transit. I'm tired of it already. If this was 2020, okay, that would have been different. We were in a very scary time with no available treatment for COVID. None whatsoever. No vaccines, no fill from Pfizer, nothing. All we had were the antibodies. That was it. And even then, the antibodies were just something to pass and hope for a miracle. That didn't help anything. So, obviously, things were much scarier 2 years ago. We're in a very different place now. This governor is abusing her power. Just like how that judge in Florida ruled that the CDC was abusing its power. Now, if they want to appeal for a future outbreak of a different pandemic, and hopefully we certainly don't have to go through another disease like COVID ever again. Hopefully we won't. Hopefully not in my lifetime, but, right now, there's an overreach of power. And Congressman Zeldin agrees with that right now. And he issued a statement about that a couple of days ago, which I agreed with. It's just very, very disturbing that the governor is just abusing her power, not realizing that people want to take their mask off. And, I follow the science. I mean, if I see a 5% rate of infection, then I put my mask on. That's obvious. While I'm indoors. But right now, we are at that number, and I certainly believe in following science. And, bottom line is, what's going on is we have a direct violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1965 right now. People are being judged for not wearing a mask during this time when we have vaccines and drug treatments. You have ultra-liberals right now trying to tell us how to live. That they're trying to put us in an ultra-socialist state right now. How is that fair 2 years later when we know how to battle COVID-19? We were in a very different, scarier place 2 years ago. And that is what me and Congressman Zeldin agree on right now. I'm going to go into what has transpired between me and Andrew Giuliani in the past couple of weeks. And there is no disrespect to anyone here, but I had thought that because the only two major endorsements for Andrew Giuliani right now are Curtis Sliwa, our Republican candidate for mayor of New York last year, who I still have a ton of respect for, and then we have New York City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino. The circumstances, I was trying to reach out to the Palladino team about getting a signature. Now, I am very partaken that Mr. Giuliani was able to achieve a lot of signatures, but I felt that I was left out of the process to petition him to get on the ballot. I certainly also felt that Rob Astorino, the former Westchester County executive, never gave me a chance either to give a signature on the ballot. Obviously, I do believe in giving people fair chances. Obviously, I believe that we should have an array of candidates to choose from coming up in June. But given that time goes by pretty quickly and we don't realize it most cases, we know for sure that June 28th will be just like that. So, this is what we always ask everyone. Is it time to turn the lights out on New York? Or do we give ourselves a fighting chance on November 8th? Do we give ourselves a chance to reclaim our state? Claim some common sense? Bring back our quality of life that we had pre-pandemic? For us millennials, we had it good a long time ago. We want to go back to that. So please consider supporting Congressman Zeldin for governor. I certainly am right now. And I will be voting for him in the GOP primary on Tuesday, June 28th. And if you are a registered Republican, I certainly hope that you will consider doing the same as well. And I certainly hope that we can reclaim our state this November and stop the tyranny of Governor Kathy Hochul.